I'll tell a little about my background just so you guys have some idea on who I am. And then we'll dive into the strategy. So I would consider myself, I guess I would call myself a lead generation specialist. I got my background. Let me just present this real quick, and then I'll dive into basically the 5 ways you can get clients, and then we can both you can give a little background on yourself, and then we'll both kind of just tag team this together on what we've done to generate business. So let me present this here real quick. Are we live? We good to go? Cool, so what's up guys? My name's Jackson. I was told 3 minutes ago that I would be doing a presentation today, but luckily for you guys, I like to talk a lot. So I got my start back in college. I was a broke college student trying to figure out how to pay his bills. And so I started my first Amazon FBA brand. I was fortunate enough to scale that to about 20 grand a month in college, really opened me up to the world of online marketing. And then I used that to launch a music career. So I was fortunate enough to tour all over the world. I did stadiums all across Europe as an opening act, a DJ act, toured with the Backstreet Boys, did every 2-3 weeks I was in a new city doing shows in front of thousands of people. And then I used my passion for entrepreneurship, my passion for music to launch a brand called Passion Toolbox. It was all about studying how brands become successful. Initially started in the music industry and then transitioned really just studying the creator economy in whole. Over the span of 2 years, I was able to get over 300 million views on the internet. Some of my videos had over 8 million views. I really mastered the art of organic content. And then unfortunately, about 1.5 years ago, my account got suspended. I woke up one day and they're like, your account's suspended. And I went to find out why, and they wouldn't tell me. So I had to find other ways to market my business. So I did a lot of advertising, got into a lot of outbound. I built a commission-based outbound team, started incorporating AI systems into my business. And now I have a business that last month did $32,000 off of $800 in overhead. So I've gotten really good at building AI outbound systems for lead generation. And so I would basically, what I'd like to refer to myself as a lead generation specialist. And that's a little background on myself. You want to give a background on your?
Sure. So we kind of have a similar background. I got into marketing in 2017, and my primary skill is lead generation and search engine optimization. I've managed over $1 million in paid ad spend. My team's managed over 300 million in paid ad spend. One business, we helped them, one Fortune 500 company, I should say, we helped them turn 26K to 1.7 million in revenue in 7 months. And it's just really understanding what's the offer and where does your ideal client hang out. So I'm really good at messaging and building automated lead generation systems. While I was on my marketing journey, I realized one thing that I was missing was I wasn't as well known as some of these other marketers, like the Ty Lopez, the Grant Cardones, and all these other people. So 2022, I started investing into my personal brand. I gained 169,000 followers on TikTok in 45 days, 1.5 million on Instagram in 12 months. So now my goal is 100 million followers in the next 5 years, and I'm going for the big B. After I get to the big B, I want to pull out 100 million, 200 million, open up a private university teaching people marketing, advertising, tech, crypto, and it's going to be like an international university for underprivileged youth. So I'm a marketing guy and I'm transitioning more into e-commerce. So now I'm just focusing all dropshipping e-commerce. So I'm really looking to scale my personal brand and scale my e-commerce brand. That's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's awesome. So real quick, when we talk about lead generation, there's really 5 main ways you can get clients, right? We have content, so organic marketing. This could be SEO, this could be organic content. We have advertising, so that's paid ads, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, billboards, etc. Networking events, so what we're all here doing, right? Networking. Then you have outbound, so this could be cold outreach, cold calling. And then we have referrals. That could be both, people sending you business, but also people white labeling your services as their own product. And, like I mentioned, I didn't have a presentation together today, so I figured we could kind of just riff on what we've learned from these various strategies. I think a great place to start, because you and me have a very similar background, would be in organic content. Do you want to speak a little on what you did to build such a large audience?
Content. I love creating content, and I think there's a couple of strategies with content, right? I have a mass appeal marketing strategy, so if you're familiar with Mr. Beast and Logan Paul, right? Mr. Beast gets 100 million views per YouTube video, has about 400 million subscribers or followers across all his social platforms. Logan Paul was able to fight Floyd Mayweather because he's not because he's a boxer, because he's a content creator. So I realized having influence is one of the most powerful things that you can have. So I'm kind of taking a Logan Paul, Mr. Beast marketing approach, where it's a mass appeal marketing strategy. So with that mass appeal marketing strategy, I have a 3-step process that I use for creating all my content. And I gained over 100 million views in the past like 12 months, 18 months, whatever it is, right? But how I did that was I understood every single video, the most important part is the first 1 to 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you say to hook their attention? For me, my hook is exposing secret websites that feel illegal to know, right? That hook works, right?
Yeah.
And how I found that hook was just by testing. 1,500 videos in. Exposing secret websites that feel so illegal to know, right? And then what I would do is I would start the video with my glasses off, and then I'd put them on and be like, is this gonna get me in trouble? So that'd be like the next scene. So it's like hook, exposing secret websites, and the next scene would be like humor, and then I would add value. So it's like, if you go to this website, you can do X, Y, Z, whether it's an AI website, business website, gaming website, food website. I'm going mass appeal, 100 million followers. If I just talk business, you get to 500,000, 100,000. You're not getting 100 million. So I just understood that. And then I have a call to action at the end of the video. So I would do 2 call to actions, and I was using a tool called ManyChat. With ManyChat, I built my email list to 142,000 emails in 6-8 months. And how I did it was just by giving people something for free. So it's like exposing secret websites. I'd give them the little humor, show them the website, and then before I end the video, I'd be like, comment the word 100 below for my list of 100 plus useful websites. I upgraded it to 500 useful websites. I got 9,000 emails in 1 day. So it's just understanding what people want. And then I would end the video with, who teaches you all this stuff? I put my glasses back on and I would take them off. Like, it's simple. I follow Cliff Pierre, CEO. With that formula, I basically I'd get 50,000 followers in 1 day, because I understood and I systematized hook, add value, call to action. And I think that's the formula with content, and I just leverage that with paid advertising as well.
So I want to speak on what he just said there. He made one little tweak, and all of a sudden it drastically changed the results that were being produced, right? So I think that is really the key here. Is a lot of times, you guys have seen that like pictures like 3 feet from gold, the guy's like digging underground and he's like right there. A lot of times that's where you're at with your content, right? So basically how the algorithms work is they start by showing your content to a small group of people. If it performs well with them, they show it to a bigger group, and then a bigger group and a bigger group, and so on and so forth. And it's not like it's a person deciding whether or not it's a good video. It's literally an algorithm looking at data. And the data that it's looking at is watch time. How long someone is watching your video. So something simple as saying, 100 websites versus 500, it's basically the same shit, right? But that might be the difference between your video getting 50,000 views and 5 million views. Right? And so the analogy I like to use when we talk about generating attention online is it's almost like you have this slot machine you don't have to pay for. Like, we're here in Vegas, right? Like, if you went to the Wynn right now and it was $0 to use that slot machine, how many times are you pulling that lever? Right? Like, as many times as you can. Right? But the difference between that paying you money and not paying you money is the probability of you winning. Right? So when we first start putting out content, we're in what I call the testing phase, is where we're just throwing a bunch of shit at the wall, trying to get something to stick. And chances are, if you've never done it before, your probability is going to be like less than 1%. Right? So to start, you just want to start trying a bunch of stuff. And a great place to start is looking at what's already worked in your niche and replicating that. Then from there, once it works, we go into what's called the optimization phase, which is how do we get it to work even better? That's where like 100 versus 500 comes into play, right? And then we move on to the automation phase, which is how do we get our time back? How do we get this to make us more money? That's where running it as an ad can come in. Right? If that produces organic results, he can take the profits that's created and use that as his ad budget to advertise the piece of content that's already made him results. And so that's really kind of how organic gets us to having a viable business. Is you start by just testing something. Once it works, then you have the money from it working, and you use that to invest back into the content on paid advertising. And now you're not spending your money to test stuff on ads. You're spending money that you've already generated from organic. And the creative is really 99% of the equation when it comes to advertising. right? Like people, it used to be more about interest targeting, right? Like you used to be able to target very specifically on like a Facebook ad. But the problem is once, like if you ever guys pulled up your phone and you have to like give permission to allow these websites to track you, right? So that was an iOS update that came out a year or two ago, and that completely changed the name of advertising. It no longer became about interest targeting. It became way more about actual creative that you're creating. These models are predicting who to show you the content to instead of you deciding who to show it to. And so because of that, you use the organic really as your testing grounds where you can test for free, and then when it works, you scale that with paid advertising.
Yeah, and I would like to add on to what Jackson said. Market research is everything. Like I have a background in academia as well, so as an academic, like writing a 20-page paper requires a lot of research. So like how I found that hook, exposing secret websites that feel illegal to know, I did my market research on TikTok. So I went on to TikTok, I have an SEO agency, a marketing agency, and I typed in SEO agency on TikTok. And this is 2021 or 2022. I found a guy that had a video with 11 million views, and he was just talking to himself about these websites. So I was like, okay, if that works for him, it can work for me. So instead of trying to recreate the wheel, which is what most businesses do when it comes to marketing and advertising, it's finding what's working and doing the same thing. I'm not saying steal, but you have to, if a big company is creating a specific type of marketing campaign or marketing advertising something, it's working. They spent money doing research to make it work. Why would I go waste my time trying to go do market research when I can just go find what's working and model it? So like what I'd recommend to everybody with a business. I
have an example right here actually.
It's
so this is TikTok, right? So you can search whatever your niche is on TikTok, and then it allows you to filter by most relevant videos. And when you do that, you can see very clearly and easily what is already working, right? So I can come in here and I use the fitness example in this, right? So type in fitness, right? And then this little bar right here, if you click on it, you go into videos, you can click on this bar right here, or just this is an example of a lot of videos that have worked. You can use these as inspiration to come up with your own idea.
And look for videos that got 1 million plus views. If it got 1 million plus views already and you get 10% of that, that's 100,000. Yeah. So instead of, if you model a 100,000 video, you might get 10,000 views. But I'm looking for 1 million plus. I'm looking for somebody that cracked the code, and I'm not looking for them to just do it once. I want them to do it multiple times. Yeah. And those are the people that will give you the foundation and the formula. So this is exactly what I did. And I still do this to this day with market research.
And that really is the key, right? Is it's a probability game. Like if you really shift your focus on marketing to literally it's a probability game, and then just all you have to focus on is all the things we can do to increase our probability, then it just becomes a numbers game at that point. The reason I was able to get 300 million views over 2 years is because I knew 1 out of 10 of my videos was gonna go viral, 5 were gonna flop, and the rest were gonna get somewhere between 10,000 to 200,000. And so when it comes to all the different ways we can increase our probability, here's a bunch of examples that I have here of things you can do to actually increase that probability. So,
and Jackson, how many videos did you post a day when you were doing that?
3 to 6.
There you go.
So the reason why I was able to get 300 million views is because I put out 1,500 videos.
So 3 to 6 a day, which is 36. So 6 times 7 is 42. 42 videos a week, while some people can barely do 1 a week or 1 a month. So it's a numbers game. It
really is a numbers game, right? And now all the things we can do in regards to organic to actually get results, here's a bunch of examples that I give for people. So the number one, 99% of the time if your content's flopping is because you don't have a strong hook. Right? So you could have if you're like, I really believe in this video, I tell a really interesting story, right? Well, if you aren't getting their attention, it might be because your hook at the beginning isn't giving them a reason to stick around, right? So if you don't capture their attention in the first sentence, like what was the one you used?
First 1 to 3 seconds. Exposing secret websites that feel illegal to know.
Yeah, so why does that work? Because he says exposing secret websites that feel illegal to know. You want to know what that is. So you're going to stick around to hear him out. You want to see what this website is. So because of that, he just bought himself 10 seconds of their attention by having that strong hook. And so now every time he uses that hook again, he already knows that that's going to keep his attention. And the only difference between that performing as good or not better than the last videos he showed is just the website he's showing you and how interesting the body of that video is.
And all my videos were 17 to 21 seconds. Sometimes people creating long-winded videos just get to the point. Nobody cares, nobody has time. So it's just like really short, succinct, to the point. Now my average is probably 24 to 30 seconds because I have a double call to action. But if I have 2 call to actions, 17 to 21 seconds is my sweet spot.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different things you can do to increase your probability. So this one right here was the key to my channel, leverage borrowed interest. So what do I mean by that? How do we get people interested in what we have to talk about? Talk about shit they're already interested in, right? So for me, my channel was initially in the music marketing industry, and when I'd put out tips on music marketing, no one cared. But when I talk about what Drake did to blow up, or what Taylor Swift did to blow up, all of a sudden the videos would start to perform better because they had larger mass appeal, and they care what Drake has to say, they care what Taylor Swift has to say. Another big one is make it visual, right? So don't just be like, hey guys, like this is me, and it's just you talking. Like add in visuals. I'm assuming you had some sort of visual aspect when you're showing the websites.
I would keep the clips to 1 to 3 seconds each clip. I wouldn't just show the whole website in one clip. So it's really angles. Angles are big when it comes to creating content. And what I mean by angles, like some people just, hey, this is da 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 da. When I'd start my videos, I would always start exposing secret websites that feel illegal to know. That movement of the camera creates a visual element on like the person, and they're just kind of watching you. So it's a lot of psychology to it. So
and here's notice what he's doing though, is once he has something that works, he makes all these micro adjustments to make it better and better. So one mistake I made early on was I tried to hard-nose my way into having content perform. So I'd have like a series I did that I put out like 60, 70 videos, but they never got more than 800 or 900 views. After the 4th video of doing that, I should have tried something different, right? Because I just assumed it was because I didn't have a large enough audience, but the truth was they didn't like the content, right?
That's so funny. I was creating website videos, and I was talking about Bitcoin because I love Bitcoin, and then I'll talk about SEO. I was doing everything on one channel. Some people feel like, oh, I can't talk business on this channel if I talk websites. Yes, you can. I was doing everything. But what made me pivot is one of my followers commented and said, nobody cares about Bitcoin, Cliff. Just give us secret website videos. It hurt me a little bit. And I was like, no, I'm going to do what I want. Then I thought about it, and I said, you know what? If one person said it, 100 people thought about it. For me to not listen, that's foolish. So I stopped doing crypto. I stopped doing SEO, all in secret website videos, 5 a day. At some points I was doing 8 a day because that was the consistency, that was determination. But you have to listen. People will tell you what they want. You should listen to them when they tell you.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that's definitely a really good point. And I'm curious from your perspective, like what your content strategy is in regards to, like, you have this video that works, right? If your goal is to generate leads, are you only doing that one type of video and just that, or do you have other videos for different goals?
If I'm trying to generate leads, I'm running ads. If I'm creating content, I'm building a brand. So building a brand is different versus running ads. If I want to make money, I just run ads. I don't need a brand to make money. I made more money without a brand. The brand is really the long term. You know, I want my name on buildings and people paying me for that. Like Donald Trump, his name holds weight, you know? Yeah. Your name, like Rolls Royce, that's a name. Ferrari, that's a name. Lamborghini, that's somebody's name. All these big companies is somebody's name. So I'm going for my name being on buildings. If I was just going for money, I'd just run ads. So
if someone's trying to build brand from scratch, what would be the approach you would take if you were managing their brand?
I would come up with a clear, succinct message and a clear, succinct offer. The offer is the most important thing. And what I mean by the offer is, like, if I offered to show you all how to build your personal brand in the next 90 days without wasting time and money, would you take me up on that offer? So for instance, my name's Cliff. I built my brand to 2 million plus followers in the last 12 months. And I want to show other people like you guys how to do the same thing. So that's an offer I just made. So people either say, yes, I want that, or no, I don't. So if I'm looking to make money, build the offer. If I'm looking to build a brand, add value. So it's kind of different strategies, I would say.
And when do you think it makes sense to focus on building brand versus lead generation?
Good question. I would say I'm going like Alex Hormozy. If you know Alex Hormozy, he basically neglected building a brand until he seen Kylie Jenner become a billionaire, right? He's like, wait, she doesn't know as much as I know, but her brand made her the money. So it's kind of like some people don't want to be famous and don't want to be known. So you can make money without being known. But if you want to make the more people that know you, the faster you'll make it. So I would say it depends how much revenue you're trying to generate, but you can make money without having a brand. And if you really want to, it's a two-pronged approach. I think it's a hard question to answer.
So I'll give my perspective on it. I think it's important to be very clear about what your objective is.
Yes. Right?
Because if you're trying to make $10,000 a month on a lifestyle brand, you're going to be focused on something much different than if you're trying to build $1 billion makeup brand, right? And so you want to begin with the end in mind and then reverse engineer, what is my restraint? What is the biggest domino that if I fix will make everything else easier or irrelevant? So I'll use myself as an example right now. I run a service that basically builds out automated AI sales systems for B2B businesses. Right? My goal right now is to create a sustainable, reoccurring revenue stream that makes me money on autopilot. Why? So when I focus on building my brand, I don't have to monetize it. Right? Because for me, in probably the next 3 to 6 months, I'm going to have my systems completely removed. Right now, I have a system that's generating me 10 plus calls a day on autopilot, but I still have to take all those calls. Right? And so I'm in the process of bringing on a sales team so I can remove myself, and then I can go all in on brand with the money behind it, and it can be focused on building actual reputation and not trying to monetize that attention too early, right? So I think it's important to identify what your restraint is and then reverse engineer from there. Now, obviously, all of our goals are to make money. If we're looking at which strategy we should be focusing on between content, advertising, networking, outbound, and referrals, I think it's also important about being mindful about where your strengths and weaknesses are. I think there's a lot of people that try to get into content as a means to an end, but if you're not truly passionate about it, you're not going to have what it takes to get the results. It's just, to be honest, like I said, I put out 3 to 6 videos a day for 2 years straight. But a big reason why is because I was actually super interested and passionate about what I was talking about. I was an artist at the time trying to figure out how to make a career in the music industry. And so I was genuinely interested how people in the industry were doing these things. So I would do all this research, but I was doing that research even if I wasn't putting out content. Right? So if you're just using it as a means to an end, it's going to be very difficult to sustain that. And it might actually make much more sense to start with either outbound, networking, honestly, outbound or networking. Right? Advertising makes more sense if you actually have some cash flow. But if you're limited on funds, you need to be at networking and then building an automated outbound system behind the scenes to diversify away from networking. Because the problem with networking is you're only one person. You can only talk to so many people. Right? So right now, since I lost my account that had, it was getting 14 million views a month, I know how much it takes to actually build that back up. I haven't even touched content. And that's been almost a year. Right? So it's also about having patience with these strategies. I think another mistake I made, about a year ago is I was trying to do everything at once. I was trying to do content, advertising, networking, outbound, and referrals all at the same time without having one that was so predictable that I could, rely on it, right? So I would grind and get all these clients from networking, and then I would try to get my content done. Now, I was making good money. I was making, over 30 grand a month, but I was burnt out. It wasn't sustainable. So I was only able to sustain that level of output for about 5 or 6 months before everything crashed because I didn't build systems. I didn't build something that had sustainability. I built something that, could work and I could flex about it on Instagram, but the truth is behind the scenes, I was going crazy, right? Because I was sustaining a level of output that just wasn't sustainable. Right? So I think the other mistake I see a lot of people make is they try to do everything at once versus playing the long game. I'm thinking in decades now. I'm not thinking in months. And so if I'm thinking in decades, I'm willing to take 1.5 years and build an outbound system that is automated and consistent and reliable and have team members that actually are managing those systems, that have a track record of managing those systems consistently. And then I'll focus on content, right? I'd love to hear your opinion on that.
I love that because even going back to my content journey, I was all in on TikTok for a good 60 days, and I was all in on Instagram for 12 months. Now my number one focus is YouTube, but trying to be a TikToker, Instagrammer, and a YouTuber at the same time, it's hard. Mm-hmm. So it's just pick one thing, master it, and then figure out how you can systematize it to delegate So that way you don't have to do everything. So like right now I'm doing more e-commerce stuff. I don't want to spend my whole day building product pages, so I outsource that. But it's important to have, the product page. So it's just like pick one thing, I would say, master it, and then move on to the next one. And YouTube pays the most as content creators as well.
I'm just curious, because you're talking a lot about like optimization and small tweaks. I'm curious what imports the thumbnail. I imagine it must
the thumbnail, yeah, that's what I mean by YouTube. The thumbnail is everything, but again, it's researching your industry. Because if you look at Graham Steffens will tell you he models other people's thumbnails. If you look at Mr. Beast, he'll tell you he models other successful thumbnails too. So it's like really study your industry. But with the new trend of thumbnails, it's like squeezing 3 images into one. One person on this side, one person on this side, and then typically something in the middle. That's kind of like the brand new, the trending thumbnail. So go look at the Graham Steffens thumbnails, go look at Mr. Beast's thumbnails, and you'll kind of see how they're doing it. And then if you want to outsource your thumbnail creation, you can go on Fiverr, find like a graphic designer to create it for you. I don't do graphic design. I don't waste my time trying to do graphic design. I know somebody can do it better than me, but I can give them the context of what I want, and they can do it.
Yeah, thumbnails are super important, especially on YouTube. Also, you want your thumbnail to deliver on whatever the video is about, like in the first 5 seconds, right? So if you actually click on if you hover your mouse over a thumbnail, it'll start playing the video. And so if the first 5 seconds don't deliver on what the thumbnail is offering as the hook, then that'll actually mess with your click-through rate and your watch time a lot, right? Yeah. And you can also, if you have a video that isn't performing, but you think it's a good video, try changing the thumbnail, right? Go back and do a sweep of all your videos and try just adjusting the title and thumbnail. And you can measure if it's a good one through the click-through rate. Right? Are people actually clicking on this, right? And if you can update that to something that's better, the probability of it performing is much higher.
Yeah, like TikTok, there's no such thing as a thumbnail. TikTok, it's all about the comments. Instagram, it's all about the shares. YouTube, it's all about the click-through rate and watch time. Those are your most important metrics. So each one of these platforms, you need to study them and understand them. And then even from an advertising standpoint, TikTok ad is going to be completely different from a YouTube ad. Even Facebook and Instagram ads, like sometimes an ad might do better on Facebook than it does on Instagram. So it's just really testing everything and figuring out what works best for you. What works best for me may not work best for Jackson, but my industry research should really help me determine what I should do. Like if you're a doctor, find what doctors are doing that's trending in that industry and model that success. But don't just do secret website videos because I'm a mass appeal. I'm going for 100 million followers. If you're not going for 100 million, don't do what I do. Pick your industry. Having 100,000 subscribers on YouTube is sometimes better than having 1 million followers on Instagram.
Don't worry about followers. Stop chasing vanity metrics. That was the biggest mistake I made. I was making less money when I got 14 million views a month than when I had 1 million views a month.
And that's, so don't let the numbers fool you, but it's nice to have the numbers. It's just a vanity metric. If you look at Mr. Beast, he's focused on YouTube. He's not putting his time in Instagram. He's not putting his time in TikTok. TikTok doesn't pay you the way YouTube does. Instagram doesn't pay you either. If you can crack the YouTube code, that's the holy grail. That's 100%. Where the big money is. Sponsors will pay you more. Everything is more valuable on YouTube. 50,000 subscribers on YouTube is valuable. Even 10,000 is valuable. I
think also, honestly, trying to avoid playing the sponsor game, in my opinion, is better. Like I've done almost 6 figures from sponsor deals, but it was very random. I didn't really have control of that. And it dilutes you. It's kind of a flawed business model relying on sponsors, because the more sponsors you get, the more you dilute your brand. It's much better to have your own product. And ideally, making sure the LTV, the lifetime value on that product, is very high. Because when I did low ticket, you have to do just so much volume to get any results. And right now, one of the main offers I do is we build out, completely done for you sales systems for clients. So if any of you are familiar with Go High Level, we come in and build out your funnels, build conversational AI. We're pushing high ticket offers. And one of our main target markets are people with large audiences. So every single day, I'm talking to 5 to 10 people that have anywhere from 100,000 to 2 million followers. And you want to know the secret? I know their dirty little secret. None of them are making any money, right? Because all of them are relying on brand deals, affiliate links, and low ticket products. And very few of them are actually making more than a couple grand a month off of those, because views don't equal conversions, right? So you'll see these people with 2, 3, 4 million followers. But followers aren't what determine the results of your content. It's watch time on a video. It's engagement on your video. It's very much a what have you done for me lately kind of system with these algorithms. So you'll see these people with 6 million followers, but I know these people behind the scenes, a lot of them aren't making as much money as you think they are, right? So that's why I think it's really important, like I said, to know what you're optimizing for, and don't make the mistake I made, which is chasing vanity metrics. It's a dopamine rush when you post a video and you keep refreshing your screen. It's like 100,000, 300,000, a million. I'm like, how high is this going? It's literally designed to get us addicted to it. Like they literally, these algorithms, these companies studied what they do in Las Vegas with the slot machines, and they replicated that to literally get us addicted to posting content, because it's a dopamine rush. I'm sure you've had this where you have videos going viral. Like it's like a new drug. It's like a drug. It literally is. Like it's firing the same dopamine receptors.
Yeah, waking up in the morning, 25,000, 50,000 followers, you're like, oh, I got to keep going. It is. YouTube pays the most. If you can crack the YouTube code, how YouTube works is it pays based off CPM. So if you have 1,000 people watch a video, they'll pay you a certain amount of money. The CPM varies depending on the industry. If it's a business video, they'll pay like, a higher CPM, like maybe $15 to $30. The reason they'll pay more in a business video is because I'm an advertiser. I'll pay more to put my ad on top of a business video. If it's like a cat video, it might be a $3 CPM. So if you get 1 million views on a video and it's like a $30 per 1,000, that's how you make your money. Instagram doesn't have that. TikTok doesn't have that. YouTube's the only platform that pays creators that CPM. So that's why you'll see these YouTubers. Mr. Beast is putting $1 million in a YouTube video because he's going to make his money back. 100 million views, even if it's a $10 CPM, you do the math. That's how much he made from one video, not including the sponsorships and the brand deals from that video. But he's right. You need a business, and the video views should just be a bonus. But just relying on the video views and the sponsorships and the brand deals, I know a lot of creators and they're not where you think they would be because they don't have a business. And I'm like,
and I think that's changing a lot too. I think back during the pandemic, especially with TikTok coming out as a new platform, brands didn't even really know how to quantify what a TikTok view was worth. Right, so I had this one company. They're paying me $1,200 a month for 2 TikToks, and they don't realize I would have done that stuff for free if they just posted me on their platform. And they were doing that campaign across 100, 200 creators, and I'm like, the people making the decisions for a lot of these companies are out of touch because they come from a traditional marketing world. So they don't understand this world at the same level as someone that's in the trenches actually doing the work. But I think that's changing because they put a lot of money behind these brands, and I'm assuming didn't see the return that they thought they would, right? And so, the reason why YouTube has such high CPMs versus TikTok is they're actually advertising on your video. Versus on TikTok, they're pooling all the ad revenue and splitting it between the people that qualify for those views. And so it's not directly correlated to you as much, right? And so in my opinion, if you're trying to build an actual business and really make money with content, you need to have your own business, ideally a high ticket offer. Right? Because I found personally it was much easier to sell 3 people a month at $5,000 than it was to sell. I mean, think about it. If you had a $50 offer, I'd have to sell 3,000 people, right? And chances are, out of those 3,000 people, at least 3 would have paid me $5,000, right? So in my opinion, it's much easier to monetize your brand by having some sort of high ticket offer. And then worst case scenario, downsell them to your $50 offer if they don't buy that, right? But more and more, I'm really now focused on how can I create reoccurring revenue. Because the one problem that I've found now that I'm getting a lot of high ticket sales is it almost feels like I'm starting from scratch every month. Because I get this high ticket commission, but now what? Right? So now with my offers, I'm more focused on how do I create something that I get the sale once and it pays me for the next 10 years. Right? That's really where I'm shifting my focus now. That being said, I would love to open up to any questions anyone has. Does anyone have anything they need help with or want us to give some advice on their specific business? Yeah.
So I'm an attorney, and when I sell professional services, I need my time. And that's my value proposition is my time. It doesn't scale well to 1 million people. I can't advise 1 million people on how to develop their business. I can't advise 1 million people on how to plan their individual tax taxes or structure their business for tax maximization.
Yeah.
Like in terms of selling something like that, doesn't scale.
Is your goal to scale, or do you just want to get a client base?
I mean, I really just need a very consistent client base, and the issue with what I do is I don't tend to have extremely long-term relationships.
Yeah.
So typically people start a business, they may come back to me when they start their next business, they may come back to me when they're winding up a business.
And what are they paying you for?
They really fuck up their taxes and they need somebody to help them.
Yeah.
But what I'm not ending up with is these really long-term, ongoing relationships, like a personal injury defense firm might have with a large corporation.
Got it. Got it. And so you're asking, how do I get a consistent pipeline?
How do you get a consistent pipeline?
So that would be probably more from advertising. I'd love to hear your opinion on that.
I would say it goes back to the offer. The reason I say it goes back to the offer is because, like, if I come to you, like, let's say you're a personal trainer. If I come to you and you make me fit, and then I'm like, well, I don't need you anymore. But me, how I would tell a personal trainer is, I'll be your personal trainer. I'll be your nutritionist. I'll be your this. I'll be everything that you need. Now I can charge you monthly recurring versus after you get in shape, you just leave me. So it's like you, as the tax person or as a lawyer, it's like I can help you with your taxes and I can consult you to make sure you don't get sued or you make sure you don't get when the IRS sends you a
audited?
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure you don't get audited. I'm gonna look over your books. I'm gonna help you find a bookkeeper. I'm gonna help you find a CPA. I'm gonna help you with this. I'm gonna help you with that. I have a whole network of people that I work with that can help you with your business. But if you want that additional service, it's $500 a month.
So I think that's the big thing right there is it's looking at what is everything they need and then building referral relationships with the people that they're gonna go pay with or without you anyways, right?
So I would take a list and create everything I can do for these people within my business structure, and then how can I make it a monthly recurring business model? Because if they're not
people doing retainers to lawyers.
Yeah, retainers are big.
You pay a retainer every month.
Reviewing.
I was a bookkeeper for tech companies in Silicon Valley, and they paid a retainer to fancy dancy.
And what can you tell us more details about the services too?
Details about my business? I do tax planning and business organization for small businesses.
So what happens if they don't do tax planning? What's the worst thing that can happen to them if they don't?
The worst thing that happens to them is they're paying a lot more taxes than they want to.
So you need
and the ultimate worst is they end up doing something that ends up being tax evasion, tax fraud.
And what's your pricing model? Is it hourly? Yeah, so I would change that.
I would package it. I would charge monthly packaging, and then I don't like hours because hours is like, well, how many hours?
You become the bottleneck in your own business. So one of the biggest mistakes you can make when packaging your offer is doing something where you're trading your time for money. That can make good money, but you're limited. Right? You're always going to be stuck in your business. And what happened with me last year when I was making like 30 grand a month, an aspect of my offer required my time. And so I became a bottleneck in my own business. It was fine when I had 5 clients, but when I had 50, it was a nightmare. Every day I woke up with fires I had to put out. Everything isn't always going to go how you expect it to, even if you're doing the exact same thing for 2 different people. Right? So I think it's really looking at your model and how can I structure this in a way where I don't trade my time for money, or in a way where I can connect them with a solution that pays me forever.
Yeah, I would charge monthly. I would always charge monthly, and I'm going to say we will set up a meeting to review XYZ. We'll do the group coaching is the most scalable. You have a done for you offer, done for you do all the work. One-on-one coaching, you work with them one-on-one. Done for you typically 15K, 100K plus. One-on-one coaching, 5K, 15K plus. Group coaching is the most scalable. I can coach 100 people in an hour.
On the same call.
I can charge them $5,000 for a 90-day coaching program or $3,000 for a 90-day coaching program. But I can't coach 100 people in 1 hour one-on-one coaching. I can't manage 100 done-for-you services.
Also, I would definitely, if you haven't yet, read $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi. go to acquisition.com and watch his course material. He shows you exactly how to structure an offer. But also think about just things that could create reoccurring revenue, right? I'll just use an example. Let's say there's affiliate software for, accounting software that they're going to need. You're like, oh, you need accounting software. Maybe they need help with marketing. You could refer them to someone like me who can handle all their automations, and I give referral deals where I actually give you revenue splits for sending me clients. So you work with a lot of people that they're going to need my services, and they're going to come pay me with or without you. Right? But if you just have a mind of like, okay, I know they're going to need an accountant, I know they're going to need a marketer, I know they're going to need a CPA, I know they're going to need this, and then when you talk to them, you're just like, what are you missing? Right? So that's what I do for marketing now. When I sit down with a business, I view myself almost like I'm Jiffy Lube and they're bringing their car in. I'm like, oh, you need to replace your belt? I got this guy. You need to fix your tires? I got this guy over here. And so now whenever I talk to someone, even if they're not a direct fit for the main thing I'm selling, at the very least I can refer to them to someone that is and get a kickback on that. And now you're getting way more money for your ad dollars, right? Because if you're going to spend money on advertising, it may be $10 to $40 a lead. And you may get 1 out of 10 of them on a call, so you're paying $100 to $400 per call. And if you only make $400 because you're charging an hourly rate of $100 an hour and they hire you for 4 hours, you're just breaking even. Versus if you have like a group coaching model that's 3 to 5K, now if you had a cost per acquisition of 1,000, you're pocketing 2. It doesn't take any extra amount of time or energy from you because they're going to be on the Zoom call with the other 100 business owners that you're going to be on regardless. Right? And so part of that really, that was the restraint that kept my business. I mentioned to you guys how I made less money at 14 million than when I had $1 million because I was charging $50 an hour for my services and relying on brand deals and ad revenue, and it was just very inconsistent. Right? When I had $1 million, I had a brand that was paying me $1,200 a month. When I had 14 million, I didn't. And I would get one-off clients that paid me $50 an hour, but it just wasn't sustainable. So I switched my model to a group coaching model where I charged $5,000 and I got 6 clients in a single month and made more in a single month than I had made the entire year before doing hourly. Right? So you want to switch to a model where your offer is at least $2,500, but ideally closer to $5,000. Especially with what you're doing, they have the money to do that. It's just figuring out what that value is. So I would recommend starting with Alex Hormozi's book, $100 Million Offers. He literally shows you how to do that step by step.
Yeah. I would say master your offer, and then I try to package things. Same thing with him. Like when I first started my marketing agency, 2017, I took this Ty Lopez course. He's like, yeah, charge them $1,500 a month, do their social media marketing. Oh my gosh, it's the worst clients. They want more for less, and it's just all headaches. Once I created a high ticket offer where I was charging $15K, $10K for those same services, but how I packaged it was this. I helped them nail down the offer. I helped them build the social media marketing system, which is like the funnel, the automation, and then I ran the ads. So I would charge $15K, 3 months, 90 days, and then my recurring was I charge $5,000 a month for me to continue managing the system that I built. And I always say it's a system. I would never sell a tool. If you sell a tool, it's kind of like the tax planning. It's a tool.
Your commodity.
Yeah, like if you need to hang up a picture, you get a nail and a hammer. When's the next time you're gonna need that nail and a hammer? When you hang up another picture. So I don't sell tools, I sell systems. So if you have a business, you need to file taxes every single year. You need to plan your books every single month or quarter, and I can help you do that. Not only can I help you plan your books, I can help you manage your books. I can help make sure if you get audited by the IRS, I'll be there for you. I'll help you get the resources for this. My goal is to make sure you never get audited. But if you do get audited, we're still gonna help you. So we're gonna be there with you along the whole journey versus we're just gonna plan your books at the end of the year.
Then from there, it's the way I really look at businesses is I look at it from 3 departments, right? You have lead generation, sales, and fulfillment. Right? Your goal is to build systems for each one of those, and people that head those departments, so you don't have to do a lot of that work, right? To start, we have to do everything, right? When I was making good money last year, I was doing lead gen, sales, and fulfillment, and it just wasn't sustainable. Right now, I've completely automated my lead generation with these AI outbound systems I've built. I'm currently doing sales, and then I have a team of really high quality people that do fulfillment. And the cool thing about that is I just found people that already have a huge track record, who already have testimonials of clients doing $400,000 a month. So I didn't have to build all of that from scratch. I just found someone that's already world class at what they do, right? And then all I have to focus on now is lead generation and sales, which I've now outsourced lead generation. So now all I have to do is sales. right? Which I'm now in the next 3 to 6 months going to be able to remove myself from. And now I have an actual system where lead generation is automated, sales is automated, fulfillment's automated, and I just have a cash flow machine, right? So now when I step in to do organic content and branding, I'm not worried about making a single penny. I can play the long game, and I can just provide value and help people. And guess what? That's going to generate more business because I'm not asking for something, right? When you ask for something, it's like a bank account, right? Every time I ask for something, I'm withdrawing from that bank account. Every time I give, I'm depositing in that bank account. So the reason why most people fail when it comes to organic content is they treat it like traditional media, like a radio ad, a TV ad, a billboard, where you have 30 seconds to get someone's attention. If you don't get their attention, then it is what it is. And so that's how they treat their marketing. They're just like, here's who I am and why I'm amazing. No one gives a shit.
No one, yeah.
Why? Because the last 30 people they watched did the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Right? Social media and organic content is about building a community. It's about providing value. And if you focus on that, that's what will give you the return. But also it's a balance, right? Because at some point you need to monetize. That's why, in my opinion, unless you're super passionate about content creation, you're much better starting off with outbound if you're B2B. And if you're B2C, probably advertising, right? If you have a little more of a budget, advertising is the most predictable and scalable way. But if your budget's a little more limited and you're B2B, I would focus on outbound first because you can mitigate that risk and it's it costs less and it's more predictable versus advertising. If you spend $5,000 and you don't get a result, the only way to get a result is to keep testing, right? And so ideally you want some sort of organic strategy that gives you reliable revenue if your budget is limited, because the only way you're going to get it to work is to keep spending.
Yeah, and he mentioned 3 pillars of business, right? I'll say based off my experience, I say there's 5, right? He mentioned marketing, advertising, and sales. Those are 3 important things. Or marketing, advertising, fulfillment.
Lead generation, sales, and fulfillment.
Right? So it's basically how I break it down is marketing is the strategy, like what's the message? Advertising is how do we get this message in front of the right people? Then the sales is like, do you have a sales system to make money? The thing that I think is important is operations. Operations is really the glue. How does this business function? When a lead comes in, do they get email? When do they get a phone call? How often do they get phone calls? And then I say branding as well. So it's marketing, advertising, sales, operation, and branding. Those are 5 things that I realized because I can come up with the marketing strategy. I can do the ads, but if they can't close the leads, they're gonna still blame me and say, well, your leads are bad. So I was like, I have to step in and help them with the sales. But then I realized when I'm helping with sales, what's their operations? If their operations are bad, I'm helping them with sales, but then they fumble the fulfillment and then they lose the sale that I got them. And then the branding is like, how do you take that engine and really make it something sustainable, and how do you make it something that everybody wants? That's where the content creation starts to come in. So it's really understanding, like for you with the tax planning, what are the things that they need? Me as a marketing agency, I know every business needs marketing, advertising, sales, operation, and branding. You as the tax planner, what is everything that they need? Is it being compliant? Is it making sure the numbers are in order, making sure this is in order, making sure that's in order, and then building out your offer where it's like, I'm not only gonna help you with your tax planning. Like if I'm working with a business, I'm gonna say, I'm not just helping you with your marketing. We're doing marketing, advertising, sales, operation, and branding, and now I can charge $25,000 a month. Yeah. Versus doing marketing and charging $1,500 a month, or just doing sales and charging $5,000 a month. Give them everything, charge what it's worth, and now it's a $25K a month recurring versus just the $1,500 or $5,000 a month. So add to your offer, and then you can charge more.
And on top of that, I think it's also really important to be very clear on who is willing to pay that money. Right? So the other reason why I struggled to monetize my brand is my target market was broke SoundCloud rappers. So of course I wasn't making any money, right? What got my business to do more in a single month than I had done the whole year before is I switched to high ticket B2B businesses, right? Where if I got them one sale, they made a return on their money. Versus I'd get an artist, some of the artists I got 3 million streams and they made they didn't even break even. Right? And so working a job and like they're not making any money, and then it's like I can't get them results even if I'm doing the same exact amount of work and getting similar results for their field. So also think about like which brand can I provide a lot of value for, but that this money is, they're not looking at it the same, right? Because when you're trying to charge more money, if you're working with a lower quality person, you're asking for a higher percentage of their net worth. And so what you find is when you work with higher quality people, you're charging more, but it's actually easier to sell, right? Because they're not worried about the price, they're worried about the value, right? And a lot of times what you charge determines people's subconscious perception of your value, right? Because if you're not willing to charge a lot for your services, you don't value yourself, how the hell are they supposed to value you? Right? And the people looking to spend money, they actually look at the price as a filter for the decision they're making. If you're not charging enough, they're not even going to entertain it. Right? Exactly.
It's kind of like if I offered you guys a $500,000 Rolls Royce in this room for $50,000, everyone's going to say, like, what's wrong with that car?
Yeah, what's wrong with it?
So it's like if you're charging $1,000 when you should be charging $50,000, they're gonna say, "What's wrong with that service?"
And that's what's crazy. When I charged $2,500, I got 3 clients. When I upped my price to $5,000, I got 6. And it really it's just like it's such a juxtaposition. Like you wouldn't think that, but it's because I started valuing myself for what I was worth, right? And then they started looking at me through the same lens, even if it's the same exact information. And you want to know something funny now? My $5,000 offer, I give away for free now, and people don't value it, right? Like I literally give it to people. What I used to charge $5,000 for, since it's not my main offer anymore, I give it to them for free, and they don't even show up. And it's like, wow, like it really shows you like how much of pricing and is psychology. It's not even the actual value being provided. You know what I mean?
People feel better paying more. That's just the reality of it.
They're not going to do the work if they don't have skin in the game, right? And that's why it's important. You have actually an obligation to charge more, because if you don't, they're not going to apply it, and they're not going to get a result. And they're paying you for the result. They're not paying you to go through the motions for fun. They're not doing this for fun, right? They want the actual result. And if they don't have enough skin in the game, they're not going to take it serious.
And how you can charge more is the speed of the result. If you can help me do something in 10 days that normally takes 30, 60, or 90 days, I'll pay you more. It's kind of like the passport. If you want your passport in 6 weeks, it's $150. Or if you want your passport in 2 weeks, it's $350 or $400, and people will pay it. So speed of results is definitely something you want to keep into account with your offer. So it's speed. It's how fast can you get me the results? If you can guarantee the result because you have proven success, that's another thing that you can charge more for. And then for you as the attorney, 30 years of experience, that's another thing. Your time experience is something else that you can charge for. It's like attorneys do it all the time. We have a combined 50 years of experience. So it's understanding human psychology and what are the trigger words that get a person to take an action based off what I want them to do. So it's like you really got to study. Also, to build on that, if you're newer and you're someone that's still trying to figure out like, oh, well, I don't have that 20 years of experience, this is why you partner with people that do. Because now you're not just white labeling your services, you're white labeling their results. So you say, us as a company have gotten this result. So for example, we do done-for-you funnel build-outs. We come in, we build out all your systems, build out AI conversational, bots and stuff like that. Some of our clients are doing $450,000 a month. I didn't do any of that shit. My partner did. But that doesn't change the fact that we can produce the result. Right? So I get to leverage a business he's been running since 2016 that he's already done 7 figures with, that he's already worked with over 400 clients where he was very early to market. And I get to leverage all the results that he's gotten. And I don't have to be an expert on, snapshots and AI integrations. I just have to understand it and find the people that need it. You know what I mean? And so that's one thing for you. It's like, yes, you have your value, but figure out all the other value that you could provide around the offer. Who are all the other people that can bring something to the table to help solve their problem? And then just find the people that are best in the world at it. And that's very easy. You find them and then you reach out and say, hey, I want to sell your shit for you. You know what I mean? And then you can incorporate this kind of conglomerate of value together into a single offer, and by packaging that all together, you can leverage the credibility of everyone that's a part of that offer.
right? Versus just what you've done as an individual.
Yeah. And if you notice in the beginning, I said I've personally managed over $1 million in paid ad spend. My team's managed over 300 million. I haven't managed over 300 million, but my media buyer has. So I leverage that in my pitch and my authority. And I didn't do it though, but my team did.
And at the end of the day, if they get him the result, do you care if it's him or someone else? No, you care that you got the result.
That's it.
Right?
So
cool. Does anyone else have some questions? You have one?
Comment.
Yeah.
Of all the lectures, this is the most insightful because you discuss the process.
Yeah.
And I congratulate you for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Totally
it.
different field. The only comment I make when you talk about branding versus other faster forms of revenue, it's really a decision of do I go for deferred income or do I take it now?
Yeah.
Really, branding is always deferred. It takes a long time to build.
That's why I think it's important to build your sustainable revenue first.
Now,
so for me, right, I built up a brand, but I didn't have sustainable revenue, so I couldn't sustain it.
Exactly.
Right?
Brand's always deferred.
And so when I lost my brand and I was like, okay, well now is a chance to build my personal brand, notice it's been over a year and a half and I haven't even started that yet. Why? Because I'm thinking in decades, I'm not thinking in months. So that's the other thing that I think people make the mistake, is they want everything right now. We live in a microwave society, right? I went from 0 to $1 million in 90 days, you know, and I worked 3 hours a week. Like, we see all this stuff being thrown at us. But if you really want sustainable success, you have to build a foundation. You have to build something that can actually last. And that might take a year and a half to do step 1 and 4 years to do step 2. Hopefully it happens sooner. Sometimes you get lucky and you find something that works quick, but it might take longer. I think the mentality I take is like, let me get that sustainable revenue where I can remove myself, then I'll go build brand. And so it's not an either or, it's both. But where people mess themselves up is they want it all too fast.
Well, brand is deferred revenue.
Period.
Therefore,
Yeah.
you have that sustainable model. to
Exactly.
build brand.
I agree.
Exactly.
And for me, I built that Instagram 1.5 million followers in 12 months, but I'm in marketing for 6 years.
Yeah.
So it's a 6-year overnight success.
Yeah.
Because without my 6 years experience in marketing, I would not have been able to do that in 12 months. So it's just like, people have to realize, like, it does take time. It does take practice. And then I used to call it failing forward, but I met a lady, she told me, experiments. You know, we're all experimenting. We're all scientists in a lab with our little white coats on, figuring out what works. It's just some people stop before they figure it out, and some people figure it out. And
that's really it right there. It's people stop. Like, I work with so many clients with marketing, and the only ones that don't get results is because they quit. It's really, that's it. Right? And that's where marketing is really tough, because it's a probability game. I could do the exact same thing for 2 different people and get 2 different results. And the person that didn't get results is going to go, this doesn't work. This is a scam. But it's like, no, you stopped. Right? It didn't work immediately. For this person it did, but it's a probability game. If there's a 60% chance of it working, you might just be in the 40% chance. But if you zoom out over a long enough time frame, inevitably you will figure it out. It's about testing, looking at the data, using that data to adjust, and then testing a more informed hypothesis. It's scientific theory. It's just you can't figure out that stronger hypothesis if you stop testing, right? And that's why most people fail. It's because they want it too quick. They think that it's just supposed to happen immediately. And when they're not in the small majority where it does, it's much easier to blame the marketer or this guy or that guy than it is to look internally at the mirror and come to the conclusion that I don't have the grit to keep pursuing this, right? Which is why I think it's really important to understand why you're doing something. Not just doing it because you saw a YouTube video where someone told you to do it. Right? Why are you actually doing it? And that's why it's really important to know what your restraint is, right? Because that will allow you to make a decision based off of data instead of emotion. And then it's just, it is what it is, right? I'm doing this because this is the first step. Then I move to the next one and the next one. But your ability to identify what that restraint is the key. And that's why you need to know your data, right? I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that are like coming to me for marketing help. And they're like, oh, sorry, I can't afford your lead generation right now. I just paid this guy to remake my logo and my website. It's like, why the fuck are you worrying about converting your leads when you don't have any? You need to be focusing on getting the leads in the first place. And so identifying, like, where am I at? Do I have people that are interested in buying my services? No? Okay, how do I get them? Well, I need to get opportunities to sell it. How do I get opportunities to sell it? Advertising, organic content, networking, referrals, outbound. If you don't have money, start with networking and referrals. Those are free or very cheap. This event was free. You guys all just came, right? If you have money to spend, that's when you do advertising, right? If you have minimum budget to spend and you're B2B, I would focus on outbound because it's cheaper than advertising and more consistent. And then that will give you the foundation to be able to keep testing with advertising without it needing to work immediately. And then from there, organic content, building your brand, that just comes down to your end goal, right? If you want to build a long-term brand, if you're willing to do that deferment, definitely add that in. But it can't be a means to an end. You can't just be doing it because like this guy said to do it and then I'm going to get clients. Because like I said, I got results, but I also put out 3 to 6 videos a day. I spent 5 hours a day making content. That didn't happen on accident. You know what I mean? People think they can just like record a quick Instagram story and they're supposed to be famous, and then when it doesn't work in 90 days, they're like, well, this doesn't work, right? But it's like, no, it's something you're committing to. It's like working out, right? Like you don't just do 100 sit-ups and then have a six-pack. It's a lifestyle. And if that's not a lifestyle you want, then focus on outbound, networking, referrals, and advertising, right? And if you do want that scalability, you do want to build 100 million followers, just understand that it's going to take a level of discipline, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen over a decade.
Yeah, and I would add to it too, like my goal this year was just to get to 7 figures in revenue. I've done 7 figures, but I haven't done it in 1 year. Then I was speaking with my media buyer, and he was telling me about this book where 10x is easier than 2x. I think people need to set ridiculous goals, because those ridiculous goals, even if you land short, you'll still land further than the person that set like that realistic goal. So like now my goal this year is 10 million in revenue, even though I haven't made 1 million in revenue. Why? Because a person making 10 million in revenue, that's like, $1 million a month. Somebody making $1 million a year, it's 100,000 a month. It's a big mental shift. So I think with every business and with people in general, 10x is easier than 2x. No, try to 2x it. 10x it, and it's going to put you in a different mindset and put you in a different realm, and it's going to force you to think differently and force you to do different things because it's a different mindset. So it's basically like 100 million, people see 1 million, they're like, oh my gosh. I'm like, that's the bottom for me because I know what I'm capable of, and we all have something that we're good at. It's just a matter of pulling it out of ourselves and then coming up with a ridiculous goal. And then when you achieve it, it's going to feel really good because it's like I said that, and it all started with a mindset thing.
But notice you begin with the end in mind. Some of you might be like, I just want to make $7,000 a month so I can spend time with my kids. Cool, that's going to require a different level of commitment. You want to do that, but that's because you're willing to pay the price.
Yeah, and I'm going Mr. Beast, Logan Paul business model. I see who has the formula, who has the success. If they can do it, I can do it too. It's kind of like that 4-minute mile. The human brain thought we couldn't run a mile in 4 minutes until one person did it, then the next week it was broken. So I think it's really mindset, and it's like a mental shift. So like set ridiculous goals. If you're not able to fulfill them, find the people that can help you do it, come up with a strategy, test, and experiment and fail forward is basically like my
and that the one thing he said there that was key is find people that have already done it. Right? So like we mentioned with content, you want your content to perform, find the content in your niche that has already worked, right? If you want to go from charging whatever, $100 an hour to charging $5,000 for, your legal services, find the people that have already done it and get around them, figure out how to provide value for them, right?
And study their offer.
Study the offer. Yeah, the offer is really the key. Like that was really the biggest breakthrough for me, and I'm experiencing it even now, right? Like I've been pushing this offer that is really good, but we've been experimenting with a new offer, and it feels like 100 times easier, right? Because it's just a better offer. The offer is selling it versus me having to leverage some sales technique, right? Like it's just a really good offer. And if you have an offer, like Alex Ramosi says, he's like, get an offer so good, people would be stupid to say no. Yeah. And you don't have to rely on selling. It's just getting the opportunities to sell it to people.
And you want to stack the offer. And what I mean by stacking it is help them with the tax planning, help them with if they get audited, you'll be their lawyer. Help them with I'll even personal trainer. Help them with the training and the fitness. Help them with the nutrition. Help them with what they do outside the gym. Help them with how they sleep. What do they eat? Literally give them everything and stack the offer. And that's how you can charge more. That's why I do branding, marketing, advertising, sales and operations, because every business needs all of them. For me to only give them one, I'm selling myself short. So it's just, that's how you make more money, by stacking the offer. And then if you want to make more money too, it's either you get more customers, you charge your customers more, or you figure out how to basically upsell your current customers. That's really how you make more money. So it's really all goes back to the offer and then generating
Yeah, I
leads.
actually have a little graph that talks about that if it pulls up here.
So yeah, offer leads.
Oh, and my computer died, never mind.
10x is easier than 2x, you know? Like, why not 10x it if you can, you know? Let's not 2x, we 10xing everything. Anybody else have any questions? I know we got to like...
Yeah.
Like, it might be my OCD, but when you go to your PowerPoint for referrals, it's spelled wrong.
Oh, yeah, we weren't even supposed to speak today. The guy just canceled, and so we filled in, but I will definitely look. Let's just, I will say, they don't pay me for my spelling. They pay me for my marketing.
Just for me, it's kind
But
of like,
it's awesome. Thank you for that.
Justin Grammarly.
Yeah, I placed last in the spelling bee.
Thank you. Thank you. Jackson, we gotta do that more often, man.
Let's go, bro.
That wasn't even planned. That was like off the top.